What's going on, everyone? Marc Guberti here, and this is the channel for people looking to gain more visibility and revenue. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 different things you could do to increase your book sales, because every author is naturally looking to get more book sales, reach more people with their messages, and of course, get those book royalties. And there's even more you could do with a book, like get on stages, get leads, turn people into clients. But all of that only happens and amplifies if you're able to sell more books. So that's why this will always be a big topic for authors who do want their book to make a meaningful impact and get them some extra income. So the first strategy for selling more books is to set some of your books at entry price points. And what I mean by this is, for some books, you're going more for the sale than for the royalty. So while I do have some books that are $2.99, $3.99, even $4.99 for the Kindle edition, and as much as $19.99 for a paperback, there are some of my books that are just 99 cents. And I do this because someone who invests 99 cents in you is just going to be more likely to invest in your other books and training courses. And anyone who just spends $1 with you, they're more likely to spend even more money with you. And that $1 relationship that starts off right there, that can turn into a lot more over time. The second way to sell more books is to write more books. And there's actually a number. There's a lot of research done by this, that a lot of the authors who are making 6 figures, they have written a certain number of books on average. So I will reveal that number towards the end of the video, but definitely let me know in the comments what you think that number is, how many books a lot of these 6-figure authors have in their book catalogs on average. Pretty much the reason that it helps to have more books is because someone who likes your first book and wants more, well, when you have more books, you give them more options. And there are authors who they have 3-book series, 5-book series, 7-book series, and readers will like one of the books in the series and they will buy the entire series. So that's how a reader may look like. Maybe you're just making a $2 royalty if it's a $2.99 Kindle book sale, but that person buys, let's say, 7 books from you. Not only are you getting now, let's say, $14 just from that one reader, assuming they're all Kindle purchases, but you're also getting the boost in the Amazon algorithm. The third strategy to boost your book sales is to partner up with other authors. So there's a few ways this really plays out. A common way is that you promote another author's book, and then that other author promotes your book to their audience. So you have some cross promotion going on. And this is good because maybe you just did an all out, you launched your book, you told your audience for a week, and you don't want to keep telling them about your book. You don't want to tire them out. So you can promote a different book during this time and know that your book is reaching an entirely new audience. A less common but also very effective approach to the partnership aspect is to co-author books with other people. One of my books that became a USA Today, Wall Street Journal bestseller, I wrote that book along with over 20 other authors. It was a true marketing effort between all of us that allowed the book to reach all those bestseller titles, and none of us really could have done it on our own. Now, you don't have to assemble a team of over 20 authors for your book, especially if you're looking more for a consistent income play, at which case just getting another person as a co-author, or maybe even 2 people as the co-author, will make a big difference. Now, remember, you will have to split royalties with people, so you don't want to have too many co-authors. The case with the 20 co-authors, there's a contract where we wouldn't split the royalties. It would just be us doing this big push, and the bigger reward was being the USA Today, Wall Street Journal bestseller. But if you do have a partnership with 1 or 2 co-authors, you do have to split the royalties, but you do also split the work. So maybe you only write 10,000 words on your end, and then all of a sudden it's a 30,000 word book. And then you have 3 people who are really making, or 2 people, depending on how you do it, who are really making a big push to promote this book rather than just you. And that doesn't even include relationships people have where each co-author, maybe they know like 2 or 3 people who could help. So the more people you co-author with, the more your book is able to spread. We've got 2 more great tips coming up, but before we go into those, we're going to do a quick cut and talk about our sponsor for this video. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Chris Ballard, who penned the brilliant novella, The Elizabeth. This novella follows the life of Margaret Fuller in a success against all odds adventure. You can join the adventure by getting your copy of Chris's The Elizabeth on Amazon today, and the link will also be in the description of this video. So when it comes to writing books, a lot of people, they think about Kindle books, and Kindle books are great. They get a lot of sales, and Amazon's really the dominant player when it comes to the self-publishing space. And a lot of people now also think about paperbacks. A few years ago, there would be some people, they would only publish the Kindle edition, not do the paperback because it was KDP and create space. So it was definitely a little bit more of a learning curve to do the paperback too. And that resulted in a lot of authors missing out on a lot of revenue. That's not the case as much now, but you do have to make sure your book is in all formats. So Kindle, paperback, but also audiobook. And this is an area that so many people forget about. And audiobooks, they certainly take more time to produce. You have to write the book first. You have to read it. If it's a book you wrote a few years ago and you're going back to it, you may notice some typos, and that's going to be a little awkward. But the audiobooks, for me, have allowed me to gain hundreds of extra sales that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't take those steps to turning my books into audiobooks. And when it comes to actual delivery, I mean, this is the setup I used. I've heard some people who say you need a studio to do the audiobook. This is really the whole setup I have, and I have no problem getting my books published as audiobooks. I mean, it's just the Blue Yeti mic. You speak into it. You make sure there's not a ton of background noise happening. You send it to someone in Fiverr to get the files mastered, and then you're all set to go. And it doesn't really cost that much to have someone on Fiverr do the files for you, and that is hundreds of extra sales you can be getting, eventually thousands of extra sales, depending on how much you embrace audiobooks that you could be getting for your books. And for me, I only have 4 of my books as audiobooks, and I know that I am leaving a lot of sales on the table by not having those extra books as audiobooks. So that is actually something I am working on. And if you are working on audiobooks too, or you kind of have that itch to eventually turn your book into an audiobook, I'd love to know from you guys in the comments, because all this inspiration, if I see a lot of comments saying I'm working on my audiobook, well, that's going to inspire me to crank more of my books into audiobooks. And I love to just inspire each other to produce more audiobooks together. My final tip for boosting your book sales is to create more free content around your books. So free videos like this one, I just shared a bunch of ways you can get book sales. I have a bunch of books behind me, and the videos like these position me as an expert. And when you create free content, that's going to position you as the expert too. The free content that people look at, that to them is a free preview of what your product is going to look like. If they watch one of your videos, or if they listen to you on a podcast, or they read your blog post and they are unimpressed, then they're not buying your product. But if they really like what you have to say in the video, if they really like what you have to say in the podcast, if they really like your blog content, then they will eventually buy. It's not like people will buy right away if this is your first time watching any video on this channel. I'd love to know in the comments. And I understand that there are people who first time watching a video, they're probably not going to buy from you or me or anyone. It takes a few videos. It takes a few pieces of content to build that trust, and then people do decide to buy from you. So earlier I mentioned that there's a certain number, on average, all these 6-figure authors, how many books are in their catalogs. Now, there are some people who do take off. They write the book that becomes this, phenomenon. But we're talking about self-published authors who they are cranking out a lot of books. And you see a lot of these books making hundreds of dollars each month instead of one book really taking over the whole brand and making 6 figures. So based on research from Written Word Media, it turns out these authors on average have 28 books in their catalog. So the sooner you get to 28 books, the sooner you are on that road to 6 figures. Not to say 28 is a magic number and you're going to definitely hit six figures. But having 28 books, it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of marketing to get to those numbers, but a lot of the authors who are making six figures through self-publishing, and it's not like they were a celebrity before they started writing books or anything of that nature, a lot of them do have an average of 28 books in their book catalog. So that's why I go for writing a book a month. I know several other authors who are going for a book a month. And if you are going to write a book a month or do something like that, I'd love to hear you guys in the comments so we could all just rally around each other and keep ourselves accountable towards our writing goals. So this was the video to help you guys get more sales for your books. If you want more like this, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, dream big, achieve greatness, and unlock your potential today.